Am I the asshole for refusing to give up my front row spot at a concert to someone claiming to be disabled? A couple of weeks ago, I traveled to another country to see an artist I've been a fan of for 6 years. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and I'd been waiting months for it. I sacrificed a lot financially and mentally to make it happen. Since it was my first, and probably only, time seeing them, I went all out. I bought God tickets and arrived at the queue at 5 a.m. Even though the doors wouldn't open until 6:30 to 7 p.m., in freezing cold weather. I waited all day, hungry, cold, and dehydrated, but it was worth it because when the doors opened, I secured a front row barricade spot, right up against the stage. This was my dream spot. Then, a guy behind me tapped me on the shoulder and told me he was disabled. He said the venue was supposed to let disabled attendees in early, but they hadn't. He asked me to give him my spot at the barricade. Here's the thing. I know this venue is very accommodating for disabled attendees. I actually have friends with disabilities who've gone to shows here, and the staff always ensures they get to the front row safely during a designated time frame before it gets too crowded. Now, I'm a very short person, 155 centimeters, 5 feet 1 inch. And this guy was extremely tall, easily over 5.5. If I gave him my spot, I wouldn't be able to see anything at all because he would completely block my view. I honestly would have been willing to move if he wasn't so tall or if I could still see from the second row. However, in this case, I knew I'd lose the view I had waited more than 10 hours for. I tried to compromise. I pointed out that the right side of the barricade was still open and suggested he go there. Since he's so tall, he'd still have a great view and could hold onto the rail for support. However, he refused, saying the view wasn't as good as where I was. While we were talking, that section filled up, and he became more insistent. He said he'd have a hard time if he couldn't take my spot. At this point, I got frustrated and explained. 1. If his disability was that serious, he should be in the accessible section, which is specifically designed for attendees with disabilities. 2. If he insisted on being in the standing section, he should have brought a support aid, like a cane. I'd seen someone nearby with one. 3. If he spoke to security, they could escort him to the front row disabled seating, which has a fantastic view and is much more accommodating. After hearing this, he called me an asshole, told me to get fucked, and left. I feel like he just wanted my spot and wasn't being truthful. The venue offers several options for disabled attendees, and I tried to direct him to alternatives. I feel bad for saying no, but I don't think it was fair for him to ask me to sacrifice my entire experience. So, am I the asshole? I find it strange that he zeroed in on you and only you, and he didn't demand anyone else move. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. As someone who is disabled, I call venues ahead about the accommodations I need, and it's usually worked out for me at no charge here in Washington State in the US, a seat somewhere so I can sit and enjoy the music. The seat is reserved with my name on it, and I have to show ID to get it. I am not sure what the man's disability was, but he should have asked venue staff for assistance rather than trying to force the issue with you. Not the asshole. The moment he didn't want the other spot to the right you suggested, because the view from your spot was better, made it clear he just wanted to grab the best spot from you. I had people try that with me in similar situations. I had waited hours and secured front row center, by using their kids as blackmail. Didn't work on me either. If you come with your kid and think they need to stand in front row, make sure to come earlier. Don't shove your way to the front shortly before the show starts to try to guilt trip people into letting you take their spot. He thought you looked like an easy mark. He could have asked anyone else around you but chose not to. He could have taken the open spot too, but even said your view was better and you wanted that view. Not the asshole. As someone who has done the exact same thing to see my favorite band, he was scamming you. See it all the time. Along with 1. My friend is holding my spot up front. 2. Can I just squeeze in next to you? 3. Can I just reach past you and grab the barricade with my hand? Once the music starts and there's a push forward, these types will literally try and elbow, push, or crowd you out of the way. That's why the general stance is to stand with feet apart, and cross your arms to rest on the barricade. Don't let go, don't stand back with just your hands resting on it. They look for weak spots to wedge in, so don't give it to them. Lol, yes, it's like a contact sport. Not the asshole. Venues have designated disabled areas or push you to purchase assigned accessible seating. This is for safety. No disabled person would be given early access for general admission, especially in a standing-only area. He was trying it on. Am I the asshole for letting my cousin play White Elephant? My 30 male parents threw a Christmas party and we always play White Elephant, Dirty Santa. We brought 2 gifts for my wife, 27 female. And while my wife was feeding the baby, the game started. My little cousin said he forgot a gift, so I told him he could use one of ours. When my wife came out I told her and she seemed fine and we played together. At the end I picked a different gift to steal than she wanted, but again she seemed fine. We got home and she told me she was really upset that she picked out the gifts to bring and then didn't get a change to play. It's just a game and she didn't say anything in the moment, so I'm confused why she's mad now. All the gifts were just stuff that we can buy whenever. I really didn't think she'd mind that I let my cousin play instead. Am I the asshole, eh? You are the asshole. You could have given up your own spot. Lol, why did it have to be her spot? If you were taking turns playing and she wanted a certain gift, just pick the one she wanted. Clearly you don't care about the gift and she does, so what's the harm in making her happy? OMG. You are the asshole. There is nothing worse than being stuck in a room feeding a baby while everyone else has fun. First, you allowed the game to start without her. And second, you gave her gift away. Terrible behavior on you and your family's part. You are the asshole. She didn't say anything because you were in front of family and she didn't want to start an argument and embarrass you both. It was kind of selfish to give away your wife's gift without asking her, and your family could have waited for her to come back before playing. Your cousin also forgot to bring a gift and should have sat out. You are the asshole. My guy, your wife isn't upset that you let your cousin play the game. It's that you took her completely out of the equation. How hard would it have been to consult with your wife on the initial decision to let your cousin play one of your gifts? But since you didn't ask and went ahead and donated one of your gifts, you should have acted like it was your gift you donated and let your wife play, i.e. steal the gift your wife wanted. Instead you stole the one you wanted. See what you did there? You did it twice. That is what your wife is upset about. It's not rocket science. You are the asshole. You gave away her gift when you could have given yours. Then later you stole a gift instead of letting her decide? Geez, do you ever think about how your wife feels? You are the asshole. That was your gift you gave away. Not hers. She should have been the one playing, not you. Selfish much? Am I the asshole for not allowing my brother over for Christmas? My dad moved into our house because he's disabled. My older brother stopped by one day right after Thanksgiving and my wife overheard them trash talk her about the way she was dressed and how she's bitchy. My brother has been banned from the house since, and my dad got a serious conversation about not gossiping about my household with family members or he will be on the street. My wife is still semi-livid at my father for saying those things, so she refuses to interact with him or cook for him. He complained about her cooking and why she was bitch was she told my dad, "That's the food I made, eat it or starve." My dad has never cooked or cleaned for himself. My wife does call him pathetic, but that's because my dad is. For Christmas my brother still isn't allowed over and my wife is barely on speaking terms with my dad. I won't intercede for him or make him special food he likes. His disability doesn't keep him from cooking for himself and he's been bummed out. I told him that is his own fault for never learning to take care of himself. Not the asshole. Only if your wife is happy will you be happy. If her cooking and behavior bothers your dad so much, tell him to go live with your brother. Problem solved. Then both, your dad and brother, can be miserable together. Not the asshole. Disabilities are not and will never be an excuse for bigotry and sexism. Keep your brother out of the house, and tell your dad to apologize to your wife if he wants to stay. Happy wife, happy life, and make sure your dad knows that. Not the asshole. Not the asshole for the brother situation, but might be the asshole for letting dad stay. IDC who you are. If you disrespect my wife you will not be welcome in my house, disability or not. Not the asshole. Firstly, you are a rare beast here, one who has his wife's back. As you should. Talk about a choosing beggar. Your father who is being housed and taken care of has a cheek to treat your wife so badly. Is your critical brother offering to put a roof over his head? If not, he needs to be careful not to bite the hand which feeds him. You're kind of an asshole though for still letting your father stay after it's been made clear he does not like or respect your wife and continues to make your home a hostile environment for everyone. It sucks for your wife to have to put up with someone that treats her badly and to have to make an actual effort to ignore him in her own house. There has to be some other solution. Am I the asshole for telling my wife we need a calendar? So my wife is constantly scheduling things, but just tells me verbally. I'm grateful for her planning, but I honestly cannot keep all of the things we are doing straight without them being written down somewhere. She thinks the fact that I suggested we have a family calendar is ridiculous and means I don't care to remember. I'm worried it's only going to get worse as your daughter gets older and we have more to keep track of. Am I the asshole? Edit for clarity. We do have a shared Google Calendar already, but it rarely gets updated unless I do it. Info. Are you saying you will set up the family calendar and put things into it as your wife tells you, or are you expecting her to schedule it? Because if you're offering to do it, then NTA. If you're expecting her to do it, it sounds like she's done all the work to organize the activities already if she is telling you about it, and on top of that you're asking her to schedule you in for it? Then YTA. Either way, There's absolutely nothing stopping you from putting activities in your calendar. Info. Is there a reason you can't just grab your phone and say, "Hey Siri, schedule this appointment for Monday at noon," whenever she tells you something? Sounds to me as if you think your wife should be the one in charge of the calendar. If your memory loss is the problem, why don't you make the calendar for yourself? There are even apps for that. You are the asshole, not the asshole. Whether you show up for things like Dr. APPTS or kids recitals should not depend on a memory test. Memory isn't perfect. Every single household I know has a shared calendar. Technology is glorious. I don't have kids, but even just with myself and spouse, we keep a calendar because it makes life so much easier. It feels like there might be something else going on here. She's reacting fairly defensively and I just have to wonder why. OMG, this is stupid. Of course you need a calendar. Everyone does. It's built in on your phone for a reason. You are the asshole. Nothing is stopping you from downloading a scheduler app and adding the appointments or info as your wife gives it to you. Or, using the calendar app on your smartphone.